Hi, this is Deborah Atkinson, the Voice for Fitness, and I'm back and I've got a tip for you. So you are studying or you want to be a personal trainer or you want to be a more successful personal trainer. And I'm going to talk to you about the hardest thing in the personal training industry for people starting out or for people who've been going along okay, but no pressure on them to make a lot of money, who now want to really turn that into not a hobby, but a real job with a bigger profit margin. So here it is, the sales information cycle, face-to-face with a customer, actually taking them from they're asking for information, you're making a sale. There's a couple big gaps in the information out there. I listened to a podcast today on my run that talked about 6 things that you have to be successful at sales. But what the podcast talked about was all intangible things. You need to have an attitude, a good attitude all the time. You need to have great habits. You need to have follow-up. You need to have energy. All of those things are very true. But all of them are also very esoteric. There is no to-do. There is no, this is going to help me have a better skill the next time I go into a meeting. Because we know you're going to try to be positive all the time, right? It's probably why you want to be in the fitness industry and influence people and their quality of life in the first place. So I'm going to give you some tangible tips right now. 2 things that need to be present in your conversation to build rapport with somebody. But I have a dozen more, or half a dozen more already prepared for you in videos that you can get if you go to the URL right down here on the bottom of your screen or go into the description of the video and type that into your browser for best results. Don't paste it, type it in letter for letter and you'll get better results. But that will give you more information on programming, marketing, and sales, and how you create a better sales funnel. So you get from interested or not interested at all and wasn't even thinking about it to new client faster and easier. 2 things you need to know. Markers and check-ins need to be a part of your conversation with someone. So a marker, an example of a marker, as you're going along and you're talking to somebody, one of the first things you try to find out is, what are your goals? When someone tells you their goals and you're discussing back and forth, how long have you had that? What have you tried before? What's worked? You also want to lay a marker in there that says, tell me a little bit about your plan to reach that goal. Or what have you got in mind in terms of reaching that goal? How are you going to get there? What's your plan? That's a marker because it very likely plants a seed that they don't have one, because what they did before didn't work or they wouldn't be in front of you right now. So that's one example. The second thing that needs to be present is check-ins. And that's similar, but just slightly different. You're really asking for, do you understand that? Did I say that clearly enough? So check-ins, just be careful with them and make sure that the way you phrase it doesn't sound condescending to the person you're talking to. So often the one I'll use is, does that make sense? And if you use it with the right tone of voice and you're talking to the right peer group, perhaps for you, and you're communicating really well, it's just fine and it's neutral and doesn't bother anybody. But if you're not careful, especially if you are really younger talking to somebody in an older generation, does that make sense? May sound condescending or disrespectful. So you might want to rephrase that as, did I say that clearly enough so that it comes back to you and it being your fault if you didn't do it? So, but the point is, check in with them and see if they're nodding along with you. Yes, that makes sense. Give them every opportunity to say no. And remember, they don't want to seem embarrassed or ignorant. So phrase it nicely, neutrally, and make sure that it's your fault if you didn't get there. And if you include more of those along the way as you're leading up to presenting their proposal for what they should do and asking for the sale, you will have much better results.